Welcome to the Expert Exchange, the podcast where knowledge meets success, with your host, Joshua Carnes, and expert guest, Kristine Bryant. Today's show is brought to you by Lion Business Advisors.
The content in this show is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. The Expert Exchange is not a fiduciary by virtue of any person's use of or access to this content. The Expert Exchange is not licensed to practice law or provide legal advice. Nothing contained within this show is intended to be an offer to either buy or sell securities.
Welcome to the Expert Exchange, the podcast where knowledge meets success. I'm your host, Josh Carnes, and on today's show, we are going to be discussing marketing misconceptions and what is the difference between marketing and sales with today's expert guest, Kristine Bryant. Kristine Bryant is with Gladiator Consulting. You can find more about Kristine and her team online at gladiator.consulting. That's gladiator.consulting. Kristine, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Josh.
At Lion Business Advisors, selling a business is not just a transaction. You've poured your heart and soul into your business. It's not just a paycheck, it's your legacy. The team at Lion Business Advisors is here to guide you through the process, ensuring your successful exit. Contact the team at Lion Business Advisors at 800-525-3542. That's 800-525-3542, or visit us at lionbusinessadvisors.com. Lion Business Advisors. Let the story of your next chapter begin with us.
So get ready to expand your horizons as we dive in to marketing misconceptions and the difference between marketing and sales with Kristine. Kristine is an Austin native with a bachelor's degree in biology from Southwestern University in Georgetown, with a minor focus in communication, as well as an MBA from the University of Texas at Austin, Macomb School of Business, and a special focus on marketing. As the CEO and primary consultant of Gladiator Consulting, Kristine works with small to medium and new businesses to ensure their business development and marketing strategies and collateral all align to drive toward the common objectives set forth in their business plan. So, Kristine, welcome again.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Why don't you take a moment, tell us about yourself, tell us about Gladiator Consulting and what it is that you guys do.
Sure. So one of my favorite things to say is nobody ever expects a botanist to be good at marketing. But when you think about it, in today's world, marketing is very, very much an experiment. It's a constant testing of what's working, what's not, and how you can make it better. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things about marketing right now is you can try so many things and figure out what works for your business. And so having a background in the sciences really lets me bring sort of that experimental approach to how we work with our clients.
That is an awesome connection. I love that. So Gladiator Consulting, like who do you guys focus on? What's your specialty? What is it that y'all do there?
Sure. So we primarily work with companies that are doing relationship-based sales. So think B2B, think larger purchases, not really e-commerce or transactional businesses. We want to help our clients build those relationships, become trusted partners, be the thought leaders in their industry. And so for us, most of our work is about how are you connecting with your audience? What does your audience need to know? And how can we provide value to them? And so if it's a business that just needs high volume website traffic for people to come click a button, that's not really us. We want to work with the businesses, and we do our best work with businesses where building those relationships is really important.
Nice. So let's dive right into it. Again, today's topic is marketing misconceptions and the difference between marketing and sales. So as we start off here, what are some of the common misconceptions about marketing that most business owners have when you run into them?
So one of the first things that we talk to our clients about is often marketing and sales are not the same. Marketing and sales and business development are not the same. Advertising and PR are also all not the same as marketing.
Yeah.
Each of them have different responsibilities, different areas of expertise, and ideally they're all working together. But if someone says, I need marketing, but they're talking about Google Ads or pay per click or even social media advertising. That's advertising.
Yeah.
And it should be part of a marketing strategy, but you shouldn't hire a marketing expert and expect that they will automatically know about advertising. It's different areas of expertise. And so some of those misconceptions are, oh, I'll just hire a PR firm and they'll do all of my content, or I need a PR firm to do my press releases or my product launches. Well, you might, but you might not. And so for me, most of the common misconceptions are revolving around how all of your different messaging elements should be working together and thinking that they all come from the same place.
Yeah. I think one of the most common things that we see in businesses trying to exit is they say they do a bunch of marketing, but they're really doing a bunch of branding. Yeah. And in our industry, helping business exits, branding is huge, but knowing the difference of one is lead gen, one is not, all of that it really does require a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of foresight and someone who can say, this is what you can expect out of a campaign. So,
and you're right. Branding is foundational to marketing, but it's not the only thing that happens. And there are times and places, once you have an established brand, consistency is the most important thing. And companies build brand equity and oftentimes think, oh, updating our brand is how we should get new business. And in reality, maybe updating the conversation you're having makes sense, but we very rarely recommend that companies start from scratch with their branding.
Speaking about, marketing, the different types, one of the things that happens to me as a business owner is I get inundated with emails saying, hey, we'll promise you 150 leads a month, 200 leads a month, any random number that they can come up with, and it's all guaranteed. So the question I have for you is more leads always the right strategy when it comes to marketing?
More leads is rarely the foundational strategy that you need for your marketing. And often more leads causes more problems. So what we see most of the time is sure, but how those companies count leads is very different than how those leads convert to revenue for your business.
Yeah.
And appointment setting with the wrong people who aren't actually prepared to have a conversation with you about what you sell and how you sell it and how they can work with you doesn't actually convert. Like, it doesn't actually drive growth.
Yeah.
It drives time spent. But if none of that is converting to revenue, then the quality of the leads tends to be problematic. Yeah. So in the quantity versus quality debate, I would take 3 high quality leads over 300 cold strangers who don't actually know anything about me or need what I do.
That's we generally respond with that piece of quality versus quantity, and it's I will always take more quality leads, but I don't just need random people calling me. So and you kind of dived into that quality versus quantity. What are some expectations or what are your recommendations around that?
When we see companies working with lead gen organizations, making sure that they are crafting compelling messaging, that they are communicating that messaging effectively, and that they're revisiting and revising based on the conversations that they do have is hugely important. So lead gen companies should not just go to your website, pull a bunch of information, and expect that spiel to be relevant to everyone. So identifying who the targets are, where those targets are found, and what conversations need to be had is really, really important. And making adjustments. So where we see the most frustration is, I thought this was going to work. I said it and it was running, but then we never actually looked at whether it was working or what parts were working or if there were areas that needed improvement.
Yeah. No, it's tracking and tracing, which I got a specific question for you on that coming up. But tracking and tracing and monitoring what works and what doesn't is huge. And I think as a business owner, you have to be cognizant of what you're spending money on. If it works, ramp it up. If it doesn't, but also be willing to admit when you're wrong and when something isn't working. We just had a closing on a business yesterday, and we were sitting down with the new owners, and that was the kind of advice I gave them is, hey, look, this is a big experiment for you now. Try it, and if it works, but if it doesn't work, it's not a pride thing. It wasn't you personally. It's not a failure. You just accept it, move on, and do something else. Speaking of business owners and how they should get into it, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see business owners making today when it comes to a marketing plan?
In this day and age, which makes me sound really old, and I'm not that old, but I'm going to do the whole, if I was an old geezer, this is what I would want you to know. Your website is honestly and truly still the most important piece of how your company is presenting itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if your website does not provide the information that your audience needs quickly and easily, and if it doesn't give them opportunities to identify when and how they should reach out to you, then none of your marketing will matter.
Yeah.
Because driving people to a website where there aren't chances for them to see themselves and find what they need, waste of money, waste of time. Driving people to a website where if they do submit their contact information or ask for more information, they're not going to get a response, or some websites have only a contact form on the contact page.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you have a useful website, you give people opportunities to engage in that conversation with you when they see the information that they need.
Yeah.
Not when they're looking for your address, not when they're trying to find your help email. And so one of the most common misconceptions and challenges that we see is going straight to, I need more leads, or straight to, I need to rebrand, and not taking a look at, what are you already saying?
Yeah.
Does that matter? And are you inviting your audience into those conversations first?
No, and that's been a big thing. I've always been a proponent of content marketing and content marketing strategies. My background is content marketing person, so it's a big piece, and you never know when someone wants to buy. So it's making sure that they have the opportunity to buy when they want to buy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think a lot. I sit here and I say it, and I'm looking in my mind, I'm scrolling through pages on my website where we're absolutely missing the mark right now. So everyone does it. It's not a thing, but absolutely it takes someone like yourself to reach out and say, here's the key pieces that could probably dive into that. So, what are some of so we kind of talked about the biggest mistakes of that, but what are some of the most overlooked best practices? And I know best practices are always changing. My marketing people absolutely love reminding me of that I have no clue what's going on anymore. So what are some of the current best practices that owners might be missing when it comes to marketing?
So I'm going to go back to website, because I cannot stress enough how foundational that piece of your presence is.
Mm-hmm.
We see the vast majority of companies build websites as resumes. They're performative. They're me and we and us and our, and this is what we do, and this is why we're fantastic, and this is why you should trust us, and here's how long we've been in business, or how many experts we have, or it's always, we call them resume or brochure sites.
Mm-hmm.
And your website should be a mirror. People want to feel seen. People want to show up to your website and see themselves. And it was interesting because HubSpot did a study that shows people stay on web pages longer in direct correlation to the number of you and yours that are used versus we and ours. So if you can frame your content to speak directly to your audience, to identify them by who they are, what they need, to talk to them about their problems before you get into how you solve it or who you are, then people are more interested because they feel connected to that. And that's one of the things that we see as a best practice in general, in marketing in general, is less performative and more conversational.
Topic we're kind of hitting on today is marketing and sales. So let's bring sales into the conversation. In most larger companies that I've worked for, that I've seen, marketing and sales generally feel like separate worlds, or even at odds at sometimes. I know really different departments. So why is that? Why do you think that is?
So I was actually thinking about this yesterday, specifically for this conversation, but also in general. Marketing and sales have extremely different goals.
Mm-hmm.
And marketing tends to need to be collaborative. And that in those conversational pieces, in those connecting pieces, in those like how everything is interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And sales in general is more competitive. Sales has, if you don't hit this mark, your job might be at risk. If somebody else in the sales organization beats you, they get the fantastic trip to somewhere fabulous, and you don't. And so because marketing is coming at things more often in a collaborative and connecting way,
Interesting.
and sales has a much more competitive approach, I find that building those bridges and preventing those silos can be difficult, but it's really important.
Speaking of that, how can owners or upper level management or executives build those bridges and support the marketing and sales teams to come together?
We find that when organizations have a customer-centric culture that says every new customer and every existing customer is important, and each of us have responsibilities to those customers, it's a better way for not just sales and marketing, but even your operations and delivery teams to bring that focus on we are all working together for the best interests of whoever we're serving or whatever we're providing. And so when you do that, then suddenly sales has an incentive to have conversations with marketing about this is what we're hearing. We think people want more of this or need more information about. Or my favorite question to ask sales teams is, what are the 5 questions that you have to answer every single day? Marketing should be having those conversations before people show up to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so starting to build that we are all here to help each other serve this customer has been really impactful.
That's good. Let's talk about kind of the hot new marketing or our sales tool, AI, right? So how is AI playing a role, or how can AI play a role in helping marketing and sales for companies?
I mean, the opportunities are pretty limitless. And we've been hearing so much about how, I think I was hearing a statistic earlier this week or last week that 70% of companies that have not implemented AI before 2025 will be out of business by 2030. So if you're not starting now, you're already behind the 8 ball.
The competitive business owner in me loves that. I'm in a very aging industry that most of them aren't using it. So we like that.
Lots of opportunities coming your way.
Yeah.
So there are some really easy ways to use AI and some really complicated ways to use AI, and some that require a lot of integration and some that aren't. We have already been using AI for content creation, no surprise. But what that means for us is you get to a first draft in 20 or 30 minutes instead of 2 or 3 hours. And then you spend 2 or 3 hours crafting that into something important, something relevant, something that is consistent with the company's brand and their voice and their audience. And while AI can give you a really solid start on that, I heard someone say, a professor say, I don't care if my students turn in papers that an AI wrote. I grade it just like I would grade every other paper, and they all fail. It's like, because all the grammar might be correct, but the structure is terrible. Or you can tell that it wasn't thoughtful. And so he's like, yeah, I mean, I just like, they overuse these words, they build things in this way, and it's not actually connecting.
Yeah.
And it's not actually showing that someone somewhere put thought into it. And so we have been using it for content. I've used it for email newsletters. I've used it for social media posts. I use it all the time for blogs, articles, white papers. I've even used it to build PowerPoint presentations where you say, take this really large chunk of content and break it down into slides and bullet points. And I want this many slides. And you can say, and give me a title for each slide. Give me bullet points with no more than 20 words per slide. Like you can craft those parameters that make a really good presentation. And then all you have to do is the design. Yeah. But again, that branding, that design, that consistency is still really important.
No, I think that's big because we've even seen it in resumes, right? If you're not using AI, absolutely use it. It is a great base. And that's what we try to tell people is it's a great base, like you said, get you started. But if that's all you're doing, even in your resume, because that's a big thing right now of AI resumes, you're missing the mark. And most of the larger companies have their own AI tools to spot that your resume is AI generated, and you still need to have that personal touch and feel on everything you do. But yeah, it's a great base. If you had to give us one cheat product or one cheat area, what would be that one piece that someone could walk away with today and be like, you know what, I'm not using any AI. What's the easiest way to sneak in the back door and just start using AI?
It doesn't really matter which tool you choose. For me, understanding the capabilities of whatever AI tool you choose is the most important. So learning that, for instance, ChatGPT, you can identify the audience that you want to speak to. You can say, write this for XYZ person of this age, this gender, this business owner type, and start from there. You can also ask ChatGPT to interview you and say, ask me questions about these 3 things because I'm trying to answer this question.
Okay.
So you need more information, but instead of me having to sit down and give you all of the information off the top of my head, ask me questions. And you can say, ask me 5 questions, ask me 3 questions, and give it some guidance on the interview that you need to get to the point. Also, AI is fantastic for brainstorming.
Yeah.
Make suggestions about, or I'm trying to solve this problem. What are 3 ways I could do that? So understanding that all of these tools can provide you with outside perspective, with unique ideas, with thoughts from, as starting points has been fantastic. And knowing that you can customize that to be closer to who you are and what you need has been fantastic for not just us as individuals, but for companies, because we've used it to say, go check out this website and write this in a voice and style that matches that website.
Interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of switching gears here. How should business owners be prioritizing messaging and channels right now?
All marketing must understand who the audience is and where they are. There are companies where putting an ad in a magazine still makes sense.
Yeah.
Like in a print magazine, still works. I still get flyers from realtors all the time. That's still a major source of business.
Yeah.
But if your decision maker is not on Twitter, also known as X, or X, also known as Twitter, you shouldn't spend time there.
Yeah.
If you don't know where your decision maker is, you should figure that out first. But I will say channels will always include your website and whatever conversations you're having externally, which tends to be email and can be social media, but understanding who you're talking to and where they are. And for some of the businesses, events still matter.
Yeah.
Conferences and trade shows or networking luncheons, that can still be a huge channel that requires effort. But you have to understand, not only should you be there, but who should be there? Why should they be there? And then if it's not working, shift gears.
No, it's funny. I laugh all the time when people really start diving into my background and realize that I did internet marketing for quite some times and things like that. And then I laugh about it all the time. I came into this industry and I'm like, you know what? This is an industry that still does direct mail and all traditional stuff. I'm going to kill it with my knowledge of internet marketing. Our number one source of legit, true, quality lead gen, it's postcards. We still do a bunch of them. And, you know, when I came into this year, I was like, we're not sending any direct mail, all these archaic people. And yeah, we do a ton of direct mail and postcards specifically because it's what works for our businesses. We get phone calls that say, you know what, I wasn't ready, but I threw your postcard in a drawer.
Yes.
And I keep it. And every time I'm contemplating getting rid of postcards or stop doing them, I get that phone call and I'm like, all right, another round. So I think knowing where your clients are at is a huge piece. And sometimes if you're going about it yourself, you just have to experiment and find that out. But the reality is there's people like you out there who have probably worked with someone in their specific industry prior to, and you kind of have an idea of what works and what doesn't, right?
That's true. And to play on that a little bit more, your audience might be on TikTok or Instagram or somewhere new, or might only consume video content. But you need to know that.
Yeah.
And spending a lot of time or money on video content for TikTok, if that's not where your decision makers live, might be fun, but probably not the best way to spend your time and energy.
Yeah.
So going back to your question before of, okay, so maybe postcards work. Maybe that's still a thing. And understanding where your audience is, there's this really novel concept, and we like to bring it up to our clients, is, did you ask your customer where they heard about you? Did you ask them what it was that you were saying that resonated with them to the point that they became a customer?
Yeah.
And my favorite is we have worked with a lot of engineering firms, and I call them the really, really smart people who don't know how to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I sat in a room full of engineers, debating what it was that they were providing to their customers and how they were creating value. And I waited. I probably waited longer than I should have, but a couple of hours in, I just stopped and said, have you asked them? Think of your top 5 customers. Either give me their contact information so I can go ask them, or have whoever is best connected to them within your organization, just ask them. Because that's another best practice and low-hanging fruit that many organizations miss, is your existing customers can be a huge source of value.
Yeah. No, it's funny. We, in our industry for business exits, we put doctors and lawyers in that category all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They are absolutely the smartest person in the room on paper. But when you start diving into, so here's what a buyer is going to look for, they're like, wait, what? No, they're not. And you're like, yeah, no, it's okay. There's other aspects to the business. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think too, business owners in general, they get so pigeonholed with becoming an expert in their industry, no matter what it is, which is great and what you need to do. That the more of an expert you are, the more you should be leaning on other experts to support your business. So whether it be marketing or exiting or whatever it is, you really do need to lean on people who are doing something every day, because it's going to flow better. So
Well, it will take a very, 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 very long time to be that good at 3 or 4 things. And you can get there faster by bringing in 3 or 4 experts. You don't want me to do your appendectomy. You don't want me in there trying to find that appendix and say, oh, yeah, that looks great or not. But I also don't want the surgeon who could do my appendectomy to be doing his own marketing or her own marketing, their own marketing, because I'm pretty sure, I haven't checked recently, but I'm pretty sure there aren't any marketing classes in med school. Pretty sure that when you go to law school, you're not very focused on how social media channels work.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be. But for that very reason, choosing what you actually need to be good at, and then bringing in other people to partner with you in other areas will get you where you're going a lot faster.
No, knowing your own strengths and weaknesses as a business owner is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that we all fall into that trap. So me with my, former marketing background, for the longest time, I used to thought I knew more than most people in marketing when someone would pitch me. Now, the reality is I got out of marketing before TikTok was invented. And so I have been out of the game for a while. And it's quite funny. It's one of the things that whenever I go to give feedback to some of our marketing team or something like that, they go, yeah, hey, that doesn't exist anymore. They're like, that was a best practice back in 2005. And you're like, oh, it's not anymore. So as a business owner, knowing your strengths and weaknesses and then leveraging someone who's in it every day is just such a key. Even if you used to have experience in it or you used to have knowledge of it, if you're not in it every day, especially when it comes to marketing, branding, any of that, it is an ever-changing world, and best practices are always a moving target. So it's best that they reach out to someone like yourself to keep a grasp on those types of things.
There are things that I don't need living in my head, taking up space. And there are a lot of things that a business owner must know about their business. But what your targeted keywords are for this month might not be at the top of that list.
Yeah. Speaking of things that business owners need to know about their business, an old mentor of mine used to say, track and trace everything. And it's a motto that I've taken in, and it's helped some of my businesses be successful. As we sit here today, what are some of the key metrics that business owners should be monitoring, and what ones are more just vanity?
Website traffic without any conversions, without anybody ever filling out a form or asking for more information. Traffic numbers, high volume traffic is a vanity metric. Understanding how many of the people who come to your website find what they're looking for. Do they look at more than one page of your website? Do they come to your homepage and leave 5 seconds later because they didn't see themselves or didn't find something useful? You can have millions of visitors, and if they don't ever learn anything from your site, or if they don't ever reach out, you would be better off having hundreds of visitors who are actually looking for more. So quantity metrics without outcomes tend to be vanity. Same for social media followers. You can have a huge number of followers, but nobody's ever engaging with your content.
Yeah.
Well, engagement matters. Engagement as it relates to your number of followers matters. But if you're not making those connections between, oh, we're saying a lot, so we're putting out a lot of content. So our post numbers, like we're doing 2 posts a day, whatever channel you're on, whatever.
Yeah.
Great. But if nobody's engaging with them, why? You're shouting into the empty forest, right? A
Yeah.
tree fell in the forest and nobody was there to hear it. Or you have content, and maybe it's not a high volume of content, but the percentage of your followers who are engaging or who are interacting or who are asking questions or who want to be part of those conversations really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the metrics that you need to track are the ones that are tied to, are people doing what you need them to do to become more connected to your organization? And so it's the same for, all right, I got a lot of people to fill out my form,
Mm-hmm.
but only one of the 25 people I talked to actually needed what we do or was a real prospect to become a client or a customer. Okay, well, you might want to think about that rate of quality to quantity. So for me, it's always about, and this is okay, I'm going to back up just a minute. This is where sales and marketing and company operations tends to get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Is marketing is generating awareness
Mm-hmm.
and starting the conversations. Sales continues the conversations. And then at some point, somebody signs a contract or gives you money and becomes a customer. Marketing doesn't always have insight into how that worked. Marketing doesn't always know, hey, these are the conversations that actually turned into growth for the organization. And so when those parts of your organization work together,
Mm-hmm.
they work together better because that feedback loop becomes hugely important. And that's where metrics
Mm-hmm.
can become vital is, I started Gladiator Consulting because I was a marketer asking profitability questions.
Hmm.
What are we doing that's profitable? Are there areas where we're not profitable yet? Do you really want to grow those areas? Because that might not be great for your business. Or operationally, are you truly prepared to deliver what you're promising?
Mm-hmm.
Because if marketing is just creating frustration, like that's not good marketing. That's not growth for your organization. So we want those metrics, whatever they might be, to actually tie to this became growth for my organization. It can be a really pretty number, a really impressive number, but it might not actually matter.
That's speaking of engagement and growth, digital marketing or social media marketing is one of the best places where you can actually track what's happening. So when you dive into digital advertising or Google AdWords or social media marketing, who should be considering paying for additional services there, paying for a consultant to come help?
If your website has opportunities for conversion,
Mm-hmm.
if you can have very targeted, very specific and relevant conversations, your organization is ready for paid media.
Okay.
So most campaigns should have a custom landing page
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to choose who you're targeting and develop a specific conversation for that audience, which means a landing page, which means graphics and content very, very specific to that conversation. But if your website doesn't have basic content yet, if you don't have an infrastructure where those leads can be collected and tracked and hand it off, you're not ready.
I often hear business owners talk about the fact that they're doing digital advertising and they're doing lead gen via that. Is there a difference in digital advertising, social media marketing, and Google AdWords, or are they all one and the same?
They are all elements of digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Any conversation that you're having online is digital marketing. Once you start paying,
Yeah.
that's advertising.
Okay. So for those that are doing advertising,
Mhm.
is there a difference for them to be doing Facebook paid ads versus Google pay-per-click ads, right? So back in the day, not to age myself, but back in the day, it was Google. It didn't matter what you were doing, but you had to be paying on Google. So I know that that's not always the case today, right?
It's where does your audience live? There are a lot of companies where boosting posts on LinkedIn and paying for promoting your LinkedIn content makes sense.
Yeah.
Your decision makers are there. There are companies where Facebook ads are fantastic for lead gen. And Google is sort of foundational in the if people are searching for you, can they find you?
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the companies that should be spending money on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
may not typically also need to be spending money on Facebook. And then you have to also consider retargeting. And retargeting is its own whole set of digital advertising processes, procedures, tracking, making sure that you can reconnect with people is a whole other part of that conversation.
Yeah, that's a huge piece that we're exploring internally right now because we're missing the mark there. Earlier, you kind of talked about some low hanging fruit. What as we begin to wrap up here, what are some of the low hanging fruit marketing improvements that business owners could take away and implement today on their own?
Every business should have at least 2 or 3 audience segments because you will be having conversations with your existing clients that are different than the conversations you want to have with prospects and leads. You also, if you're providing more than one product or service,
Mm-hmm.
will want to have some segments that are specifically having conversations about those things. So the first thing I would say is creating and understanding
Mm-hmm.
the different conversations that you need to have and who you want to have them with will give you a foundation for segmenting your contacts. So start there. The second low-hanging fruit is just a digital presence review. Does everything look the same?
Mm.
If you're on LinkedIn, is it branded? Does it have the same content about your company that your website has?
Mm-hmm.
If you're sending emails or if however you're communicating with people, consistency builds trust. And building that brand equity through making sure that everything is connected is really important and easy.
Mm-hmm.
So building some consistency and just reviewing, is everything the same? Does it look and feel and say the same things? And building some segments are some of the easiest things to do that can have a pretty quick impact.
And brand equity is becoming at least from what I'm hearing, is becoming more of a metric that the social media platforms are using when they decide to rank businesses. So they're checking cross platforms, what's hot, what's not, and is your messaging theoretically on point or not, right?
So search engine optimization,
Mhm.
SEO, is a huge buzzword.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, I'll pay somebody to come do SEO. But SEO is a process and it all starts with your content strategy. Well, how you rank in Google
Mm-hmm.
is the result of your search engine optimization efforts. But yes, what you're posting on social media is part of the algorithm.
Yeah.
Whether you are updating the content on your website is part of the algorithm. If you are using words that people are looking for, that's how they'll find you. And sometimes that means paying for those words, but sometimes it just means actually developing content that is using the stuff that people are looking for.
And being consistent about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I personally think this has been a great conversation. I've got about 5 or 6 things that I'm going to go panic over and stress over our website about.
Don't do that.
But if those business owners who are sitting there in the same situation I am today, going, "Oh snap, I'm missing some stuff," how are they going? How can they reach out to you, and how can you help them?
Yes. So I tell people all the time, I consult for coffee. But if you want me to do any of the work, then we'll have to talk about how much it's going to cost. But people can find me on LinkedIn. People can find me at my email, which is Bryant@gladiator.consulting. And like I said, if you're local or you want to send me a $5 Starbucks card, more than happy to talk to you. And we can take a look at your website together, or we can just say, here are the questions that I still have. And I can say, yeah, those are easy to answer, or we can answer them, but then you're going to actually need somebody to do the thing.
As we wrap up here, we will post links to your LinkedIn profile, her email, all of that information. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, you can keep the conversation going. You can connect with us on social media. You can find us on X at the EXP Exchange, or visit our website at theexpertexchange.pro. That's the expertexchange.pro. For more resources and information related to today's episode, you can reach out to our expert guests online at gladiator.consulting. That is gladiator.consulting. And remember, success is a journey, and we're thrilled to be a part of yours. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Expert Exchange.
Content on this show is information of a general nature and does not address the circumstances of any particular individual or entity. Nothing in this show constitutes professional or financial advice, nor does any information on the show constitute a comprehensive or complete statement of the matters discussed or the law relating thereto. The Expert Exchange is not a fiduciary by virtue of any person's use of or access to this content. You alone assume the sole responsibility of evaluating the merits and risks associated with the use of any information or content on the show before making any decisions based on such information. In exchange for using the content, you agree not to hold the Expert Exchange, its affiliates, or any third-party service provider liable for any possible claim for damages arising from any decision you make based on information or other content made available to you through the show. The Expert Exchange is not licensed to practice law or provide legal advice. Nothing contained within this show is intended to be an offer to either buy or sell securities.